Welcome friends, welcome back to the hangar. Beautiful sunshiny day, blue sky, not a lot of wind today. I'm flying up to Edenvale for an oil change. Something I can do myself, but for the first 4 or 5 I want to get Chris to do them just so that we can also do an inspection overall on the aircraft while it's in his shop. And Chris asked me to pick this up from a supplier here at the Oshawa airport. Looks like a cable for a Piper. Anyway, so he wanted me to pick that up and deliver it to him in Edenvale, so I'm going to do that. And along the way, we're just going to talk about what I like, don't like, and show you some of the features of the Dynon system. So let's get her fired up and get in the air.
Oshawa Tower, Foxtrot, Mike Victor Uniform holding short 05 on Charlie for takeoff when able.
Mike Victor Uniform, ground, correction tower standby.
My normal takeoff procedure now is 20 degrees of flaps. I find it just bounces right off the runway. Without
Mike Tango, Charlie, just confirm you'll be pretty much runway heading the whole way.
Without being too aggressive on the yoke.
To it, yeah, Mike Tango, Charlie.
Mike Victor Uniform, line up and wait, runway 05, be ready to go.
Line up and wait 05, Mike Victor Uniform.
Wish Quebec, exit Bravo, taxiway contact, ground 118 before clear the runway.
Sorry, to go back.
Oshawa Tower, Glen uniform with negative to the traffic.
Mike Victor Uniform, I'll call your northwest turn, clear takeoff 05.
Clear takeoff 05, Mike Victor Uniform.
Whiskey Lima Uniform, station traffic for you to follow is left base.
Looking for traffic.
There we go, airspeed's alive. And we're off.
Whiskey Mike Lima, tower clear to land, 05.
Whiskey Mike Lima. Oshawa Tower, Lima uniform, negative to the traffic.
Whiskey Lima Uniform, continue in the normal downwind, I'll call your base.
Lima uniform.
Mike Victor Uniform, left hand turn at your discretion, report clearing the zone.
Left hand at my discretion, report clearing the zone, Mike Victor Uniform. Oshawa Tower, do you have me on 0040, Mike Victor Uniform?
Mike Victor Uniform just popped up there and check your 5 miles, change on route, have a good day.
Changing en route, Mike Victor Uniform, thank you. Okay, I gotta tell you, I am so tired of these GoPros. Let me rant for a moment. So you may or may not know, I've worked in film for almost 30 years at this point. Mostly big budget television commercials, a lot of documentaries, some TV series, and a couple of, big long format Hollywood movies that filmed in Toronto. I have a lot of experience with cameras. GoPros have done nothing but let me down my entire life. Well, the entire time that I've been able to use GoPros, and this is no exception. And it's not the overheating problem. Everybody says, oh, the overheating problem. There's a camera out there on the wing that shuts down every 2 minutes. It is not overheating. The outside air temperature on that wing is 12 degrees Celsius, and there's about 100-mile-an-hour wind flowing over it. So it's getting a lot of cooling.
Traffic in the Borden area, this is Bremen Golf Golf Papa Charlie.
It's being run off of a Cinema Standard Anton Bauer power brick. It's getting power. It's not shutting down because it's not getting the right amount of power. It's just, and that's the Hero 11. This is a Hero 11 too, and I'm not happy with them. They're marginally better than the Hero 10, and I can't wait to get my hands on the Osmo Action 3. I've got a couple of those coming. They're in shipping right now, and I'm going to do an episode coming up where we talk about cameras, camera placement, what I'm using here in the cockpit for cameras. But it's really frustrating because it's difficult to piece together an episode when your camera's shut off every 5 minutes. It's really frustrating. Okay, so camera's now recording our setup here of the Dynon system. little grippage. So, my first impression of the Dynon Skyview HDX system that I have in this aircraft is I absolutely 100% love it. Love it. Does everything I thought it was going to do. Does everything that I was told it was going to do. I did a lot of research ahead of time to make sure that I was getting the right thing, and I think I have got the right thing at this point. There are a couple of things about it that I don't like, and I'll get those out of the way right away. The first thing I don't like is I don't like the AOA indicator. That's this right here. Camera's still running. That's this right here. I love the AOA. It has really helped me as I transition to an aircraft that stalls in the low 30 mile per hour range with the wing extensions and the stall cuff and the VGs. But I think it's too small. I think the indicator is too small. I would love it if it was larger. I'd love it if it was as large as the speed tape and maybe moved over to the side so that it could take up a little bit more space and wouldn't get in the way. My understanding though is that because this is a certified aircraft, what you see here on the primary flight display is regulated by those people that regulate to keep us safe in certified aircraft. So I completely understand if that's the size the regulators looked at and said that's what you need. But it would be fantastic if it was larger, or if you could make it larger. I mean, I know that some people don't use it, don't want to see it even. But it would be great if
traffic in the Edenvale area. This is Grumman, Comcom, Papa Charlie, 3,500 feet, about 2 miles southwest of the Edenvale Airport, heading northwest, eastbound to Midland.
And I'm just spitballing here, completely spitballing. If they can't change that, what if this is my engine panel that I put up during takeoff? What if you could have a secondary AOA in here, because all of this is user definable. And so because this is user definable, if we could put if I had the option of putting another AOA indicator in here that was large, during takeoff and landing when I'm using AOA, it would be there, and then, you know, during flight, press that, we go back to the PFD. This is my engine band, so these are things that are always on, always there, always see them. And this is the primary flight display. So it'd be great if you know, when we go into the display and I say engine for, you know, landing, that came up. The other thing that I don't like, but I understand it's because I'm in Canada, is the map. The map available for Canada is a little lacking, which is one of the reasons why I still fly with an iPad in ForeFlight. ForeFlight has the actual charts. I know they're called charts, but I just said map because, you know, conveys it to the widest range of people.
Under traffic 10, I go with Tango between Shelbourne and Dundalk, 6,500 heading southwest on a VFR first flight line to London.
Those are the two things that I kind of don't like. The other thing that really bothers me a little bit, and I know that I knew this going in. I knew this before I got the system. I knew this was going to happen. Not everything from Dynon is certified for a certified aircraft. So I'm unable to put in the second intercom panel that would allow me to talk to Julie, so I had to buy an outside intercom panel because the Dynon is not certified for certified aircraft, or this certified aircraft at least. And the other thing is the autopilot, not certified for this year of Cessna 172, and it probably never will be. I knew that going in. Bothers me a little bit that the plane is left behind, because it would be a great system that completely integrates with what's happening here. But we're going to talk about autopilots in the future. So here we go. So we just left Oshawa, and once I get to altitude, I press that and I go back to full for the full PFD. But in here I could also put the map half on this side. I always keep this one full map, so I don't really ever put the map on this one. It's either engine or the full PFD. Over here on the map, this strip right here gives me all of the information for my flight plan. So I do my flight plan in ForeFlight, and then it shoots automatically to the Dynon, and my flight plan is in the Dynon. And this tells me, you know, how fast I'm going, how long it's going to take before I get there, you know, distance, course, track, those sorts of things. That's a fantastic system. Absolutely love that. This is the radio panel. This is the radio knob panel. You don't have to get this because all of your radio stuff is inside here as well. This just gives you a nice knob and button. So right now it's set to CYOO, that's Oshawa. You press this button and it gives you nearest airport and you just cycle through them.
Northwest area traffic, Golf Charlie Victor Oscar on
Or
the north side of the town of Blythe.
Press it,
Eastbound 5,500.
press it twice and then you can dial in your airport that you're looking for.
Wasaga Beach traffic, Grumman Golf Papa Charlie, 3,500 feet, 2 miles south of Wasaga Beach. Heading northeastbound to Midland, changing frequencies for the field now.
And then once you dial in Oshawa, so CYOO, I can press tower, ATIS, ground, or ATC, and it populates here what I want, and then just pressing this button
Call number 1, run.
switches between the frequencies. Alternately, this is your radio band at the top, and if I press the radio, all of that same stuff comes up here, and I can just press in what I'm looking for. And then there's a dual mode, so I can listen to 2 frequencies at once. Just like pretty much any standard radio at this point. So there's 2 ways to get in there, but there's actually 3, because I can press this button down here on the bottom. And one of the things I love about this is this shelf. It's at a 45-degree angle. You can, in rough air, put your finger on it. So if I press the menu button, I can get into the comm radio there as well. And then I press this back button, it brings me back to the menu. This also gets me into the transponder, but same as the radio, if I press transponder up here at the top.
Traffic, Cessna 172, Golf Sierra Charlie Romeo, currently just in between Pigeon Lake and Sturgeon Lake, practicing upper airwork 3,500 and below, Coastal Lake practice area traffic.
Opens the same screen. And so then I click the X, I go back. Clock, open that, and it brings up a timer, so I can have a timer that times up and down. That's really helpful. This aircraft, this model of aircraft, year of aircraft, if you fly above 5,000 feet, you can only fly on 1 tank at a time, 1 fuel tank at a time. There's a problem with the way that these were plumbed. So when flying above 5,000 feet, I'll set a timer every half hour, and it'll remind me to switch over the tanks. Right here in the corner, I don't know if you can see it, but it says CYOO. If you press that, it comes back to the comm again. Now if we go into the menu again, PFD tools, so I can turn on and off the synthetic vision. I usually leave the synthetic vision on. I really like, if you can see here, it shows water, and when I look out, I can see the water. So it shows a representation of the map, pretty much the same as you see out your screen. Which is great. I kind of really like that. It helps me with figuring out where I am. While I was talking, I gained altitude. I need to get back down to my altitude. We go back into the menu. There's map controls, so I can set up different map layers for topography and terrain alert. Weather options. So this has ADS-B in, which brings in ADS-B weather. Canada is not going to use that ADS-B system officially. There are several airports that have their own ADS-B transmitters that transmit the weather information. Oshawa is one of them, so I can, as I enter back into Oshawa, I can get weather again. But, for the most part, not useful here in Canada. If you're in the United States, probably pretty useful. User waypoints. I can put in different waypoints that are then configurable from the flight planning screen. There's tools down here. I can put in my checklist, weight and balance, and a maintenance log. The maintenance log is great because it will remind you when you need to do an oil change or all of the various things that need to be done in between your annual. Really like that. And then so this is the main PFD. So you've got over here you have your speed tape. Below it is true airspeed and ground speed. So right now we're doing 110, but our true airspeed is 116, and we've got a ground speed of 117 miles per hour. I left the plane in miles per hour. It was built originally in miles per hour. All of the POHs in miles per hour just seemed easier. I know I should have, a lot of people said I should have changed to knots because everybody uses knots in 2022. Just to keep the plane true and to make sure that when I'm reading in the maintenance books, I know what I'm reading and I'm not doing conversions. So here's interesting right now. So see this purple box? That's our flight plan. If I fly through the middle of the purple box, it lets me know that I'm on my flight track, and we're pretty much on our flight track, which is odd for me because I don't usually follow it. Over here is our altitude and our vertical speed, and down below I can set our target altitude. And so you can see that in the blue at the above there. So that's our altitude bug. And again, just like your 6-pack, there's your HSI, and there's your bank and turn or turn and slip indicators. Really easy to get used to. I had only really ever flown aircraft with steam gauges. This was so easy to get used to. I had no trouble at all. 4 or 5 hours and everything was just where it was supposed to be, which was great. These are our fuel levels and our fuel burn. So I'm burning right now 7.1, 7.2 gallons per hour. I'm rich of peak. So the computer lets me know rich of peak or lean of peak. And so I can bring this back. Running a little rough, but it's still rich of peak, and we're now 5.8 gallons per hour. I'd like it to run a little smoother, so there. Time remaining, that tells me the time remaining for fuel based on fuel flow and what's in the tanks. We're running right now at 38% horsepower tachometer, so we're doing...
Wala Lake area traffic, Golf Juliet, St. Michael, Charlie 2500, heading to South River.
2300 RPM.
Under traffic in the Arthur area, Cessna Golf Echo Whiskey Tango over RSR 6500 heading southwest on the Firefly Blend back to London.
This is a knob panel. This sets our heading and track bug, so I can turn this and it turns what's happening up here. You can also change all of these bugs by touching the point on the screen, and then it changes your knobs here on the screen on this to whatever. But you can also change the knobs by pressing down and then cycling through them. So now that changes the barometer, but I can also change the barometer down here. So there's multiple paths to the same end, and I find that works really well with my brain. Some of the other panels that I thought about, there was only one path through the setup menus or through the menus, and if you didn't remember that path because it didn't make sense to you, which it didn't make sense to me, then it was useless. This has multiple paths, and I can play with the different paths and use the one that most works for me. I found that this extra knob panel here is the one that I use for setting all of the barometer, the heading, and the other bugs. These knobs here, I completely forget about them, but they're there if I need them. All of these buttons as well if I need them, and some of this stuff is user setupable deep within. But for obvious reasons, a lot of the setup can't be done in air. It shuts off those screens. You can't do it while you're flying. You have to do it on the ground. Makes sense. Totally makes sense. So that's just a brief overview of the things that you use all the time, or the things that I use all the time. You know, you can scroll out to make the map bigger. So I'm still getting, here you can see, I'm still getting information about weather from Oshawa. So I haven't flown far enough away from Oshawa to lose that weather. Right? And then you just come in. You can see our flight track there in purple, so I'm pretty much following it. So other than a couple of really small points that are actually probably outside of Dynon's control because they have to do with regulations, I love this panel, and I think that, you know, if you do your research and do a really deep dive into the research, you'll find that for the cost, and I hate saying that, for the cost, but for the cost, there's a lot of bang for your buck in this panel. You know, a lot more bang for your buck than you would get with other panels, and the money that you save you can use on other things. Like trying to figure out which cameras actually work. So, I think that's it. That's everything that I want to talk about today about the Dynon. There will be more as we move forward, especially when we get to the point that I'm going to put in the autopilot.
Edenvale traffic, Mike 6 uniform crossing midfield to join the left downwind, runway 31, Edenvale. Edenvale traffic, Mike 6 uniform turning final, runway 31, full stop, Edenvale.
Where's your thing? You got it?
Looks good. I think with my arrival here today, it's 30 hours.
Oh, perfect.
Have you tried to buy an aviation oil filter lately?
Glens hanger and Glens hanger and oil filter sales.
What does that one get torque to, Chris?
18 says right on it. 16 to 18, I think. So 18.4.
Edenvale traffic, Delta Kilo Extra is backtracking through left.
So there we go, another oil change. I send the oil out for analysis, and I have been sending it out for analysis. And so far the analysis has come back very promising. I'm keeping a very close eye on this engine because it's new to me, and even though it has very few hours on it, it's sat for years not being used, which is not good for an engine. So I'm going to send this analysis out, and once I get it back, once we get this oil analysis back, I'll sit down and we'll go through the numbers, you, me, and Chris, and kind of talk about what's going on inside the engine. You can never know. You really can never know, but what you can sort of look at are trends of what's coming up in the oil.
Oshawa Tower, Cessna 172, Foxtrot, Mike Victor uniform.
Foxtrot Mike Victor uniform, Oshawa Tower.
Oshawa Tower, Mike Victor Uniform has information India. We are currently abeam the town of Uxbridge at 3,000 feet, inbound for landing, last departed Edenvale.
Mike Victor Uniform Tower, runway 12, winds 1905, altimeter 3037, cleared, straight in approach, report 5 mile final, squawk 5312.
Squawk 5312, straight in approach for runway 12, 5 mile final for the calling tower.
Mike Victor Uniform Tower, check you're approaching a 5 mile final, you're number 2 following a Cessna, just turning a left base.
Number 2 for 12, Mike Victor Uniform.
Mike Victor Uniform Tower, spacing looks good.
Mike Victor Uniform.
Whiskey Lima Quebec Tower, change order frequency. Whiskey Lima Quebec. Mike Victor Uniform Tower, exit left Charlie, contact ground 11841 off.
Exit Charlie, contact ground, Mike Victor Uniform, thank you.
Oshawa Tower, Zulu Hotel Victor holding short 12, ready for departure.
Foxtrot Zulu Hotel Victor Tower, line up and wait, runway 12.
Line up and wait, Zulu Hotel Victor.
Oshawa ground, Mike Victor Uniform on Charlie, requesting taxi to the T's, please.
Mike Victor Uniform, Oshawa ground, taxi Alpha through the main apron and Delta. Bye-bye.
Alpha, main apron, Delta to the T's. Thank you very much, Mike Victor Uniform. So that's it, another uneventful flight. We've got another oil change. Chris got his part. You might have seen some of the fall colors coming on, not too many. I'm going to do a flight tomorrow, about 4 hours north of Oshawa. Going to fly pretty far north. We're going to look at the fall colors. That'll be the next video in the series. So come on back for the next episode. As always, I thank you very much for watching. Means a lot to me. And keep those comments coming in. I love them, even though sometimes they hurt a little bit. I do love getting the comments. So thanks for watching. See you again soon.